And now, Jim, would you please come forward?
Thank you all for being here today to honor my father and your friend, Dennis Big D Moulton. My dad meant a lot to a lot of people. He was a son, a husband, a father, a grandfather, a brother, an uncle, a friend, a teacher, and a coach. To my mother, he was a loving husband of 45 years. My mom and dad first met when they were 16 years old at a Red Sox game after being set up on a blind date. My mom still has a ticket stub from that date, $2.25 admission back then. Years later, they went to see a Red Sox game for their 10th anniversary, and the price of a ticket jumped to a steep $3.75. How times have changed. When they met, my mom said there was something special about him. This probably wasn't the first time someone said that about him, and it surely wasn't the last. My mom and dad were soulmates and would spend the next 50 years creating a wonderful life together. They settled in Northampton when my father took over for Henry Wilhelm as the phys ed director at Clark School for the Deaf. It was in Adams House on the campus of Clark where my mom and dad raised me, my brother, and sister among the students, teachers, and staff of Clark. We were lucky to live in the middle of such a wonderful and vibrant place where there were plenty of kids to play with and plenty of beautiful grounds to wander, not to mention an indoor pool and indoor basketball court a stone's throw away. It was paradise. Big D had won the lottery. I'm sure he couldn't have imagined a better place to raise a family. He'd always joked that the commute was the only inconvenience, so that there wasn't and that there wasn't a hot tub next to the pool. It was at that pool where I was finally convinced that my dad was indeed a superhero because he could swim 2.5 lengths underwater. Holy cow, first he wrestles a bear, then this. Young mind blown. It wasn't long before us kids realized that our dad wasn't just our father. He was a father figure to the kids we had seen and played with every day. At the time, a lot of kids at Clark had come from far away, some as far as Egypt, where they had left their own families. Luckily for them, people like my dad and the rest of the amazing teachers and staff at Clark made them feel accepted, comfortable, and loved. I'm sure it didn't take long for most of those kids to feel like Clark was their new home. It was truly a special place, a community within a community, where we were all on the same team and became more than just neighbors, students, and teachers. We became family. He always considered himself fortunate to be a part of the Clark family and would often say he had the best job in the world. Although Clark School was his and our immediate home, Northampton was our home too. My mom and dad were both from the Boston area and were the new kids in this tight-knit town. Luckily, my dad became fast friends with Diane Dostal, who had roots in Hamp and was somehow related to just about everyone in town, or had a brother and sister-in-law who was. Long ago, I stopped trying to figure out who is related to who and figured that they were all just family. My dad was always grateful to have made such great and lifelong friends in Northampton. When he and my mom retired and moved to the Cape, he was reluctant to make new friends. He was reluctant to make new friends there because his true friends, he always said, were always back in Hamp. Making friends was pretty natural for Big D. He had that quality about him that you just couldn't quite put your finger on. His presence was something people were drawn to and felt comfortable around. He was the most genuine person I've ever known who really cared and was interested in the lives of others. He had a great sense of humor, a contagious laugh, and never took himself too seriously. He was a gentle giant who truly loved and accepted everyone. People loved him because he loved them. The last couple of years of my dad's life were not easy for any of us. To say they weren't easy for him is a huge understatement. He fought a battle I couldn't imagine fighting. He did it with grace, dignity, and courage. He never complained or felt bad for himself. To the very end, he was as selfless as he ever was, more concerned about us than he was himself. Strength, toughness, and bravery will forever be redefined in my mind. I always had a feeling my dad was tougher than nails. Now I know. The only tougher person I know is my mom. My dad would want everyone to know what an amazing job she did taking care of him. My mom would want me to tell you that it was a privilege to take care of him. He would want me to tell you how lucky he was to call her his wife. Their love for one another is the stuff of legend. He loved my mom more than anything in the world and is eternally grateful for the love and care she gave, not only during the last few years of his life, but his entire life. It sounds cliched, but behind every good man is a better woman. How true. From all of us, thank you, Mom. Although it's a shame that my dad was taken too soon, I have no doubt that he had no regrets. He told me weeks before he passed that he considered himself a blessed man and that he was completely at peace with the life he lived. He will live on through the lives he touched, the lessons he taught, and the people he loves. My dad lived a full, lived a full life and abided by the golden rule. I could go on and talk about my dad for the rest of the afternoon. However, I'll conclude by sharing a quote by John Lennon that he emailed us kids last year while going through the height of his battle with cancer. It goes like this. When I was 5 years old, my mother always told me that happiness was the key to life. When I went to school, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grow up. I wrote down happy. They told me that I didn't understand the assignment, and I told them they didn't understand life. We should all try to be happy. I know Big D is now. Thank you.